Hello, I'm Richard Claywell, and this is Litigation Speaks. I want to talk to you again today about a business valuation topic. This deals with reconciling values once you've completed a particular engagement. And this is from a report where this individual has used the asset market and income approach, which you should use, and the approach that they've used to do the reconciliation, in my view, is incorrect, and I will tell you why that is. If you are looking at YouTube or you're looking at my website and you see this article, you'll see that I have 3 different exhibits, and I want to talk about these exhibits. This is what the attorneys will receive in a report, and you look at this and you say, they've done all the approaches like they're supposed to do. They've come up with a value, and they've actually weighted the values, or in actuality what they've done is they've averaged the values, and they've come up with a number and said this is the value of the company. So this is what I'm going to talk about, is how they've actually used the averaging methodology within the report to come up with a number. If you look at the guideline company approach, the value is $2,250,000. If you look at the discounted cash flow, the value is $3,750,000, and if you look at the adjusted net assets, it's $472,000. The issue is the adjusted net assets. What they've done is they've applied a 30% weight to all 3 approaches. By applying a 33% weight to each of the approaches, what they're really doing is they're averaging the numbers, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But because the adjusted net asset approach is so much lower than the other 2, that is actually dragging down the value of the other 2. So if you look at the weightings that they've got, their total value of the company is $2,135,760. That's the total value. Because the adjusted net assets is dragging this down, if you look at the guideline company method, $2,250,000. That's higher than the total value of the company. If you look at the discounted cash flow, it's $3,750,000. That's more than the total value of the company. But if you look at the adjusted net assets of $472,000, that is dragging it down. In my opinion, that's creating bias, and I believe that the individual that did this is trying to get a lower value. When you look at the weighting that they've done, you get into the issue of, are you weighting or are you averaging? If you look at revenue ruling 5960, 5960 is the holy grail. It's the foundation of business valuations on a global basis. And I say that on a global basis because if you look at what's happening around the world, they all key off of revenue ruling 5960. And I happen to be the chairman of an international business valuation group, and we teach people all over the world how to value companies. Everything is based off of revenue ruling 5960. 5960 says that if you average the numbers and you get the right answer, it is strictly by chance. Now, if you're looking at YouTube, you can see the text where it talks about that. If you're looking at my website, you'll see the text and the site for that. And by applying a third to each one of these numbers, in my opinion, that's not weighting, that is a simple average, and that is incorrect. If we remove the adjusted net assets, now the adjusted net assets typically do not apply, or they do not benefit the valuation that you're working on. The adjusted net asset approach does not really contribute to the value or the earnings benefit of the company. If I'm going to buy the company, then I'm interested in what are the future benefits I'm going to receive. What's my future cash flow? And we can generate that particular number excluding the adjusted net asset approach. So there's some controversy about that, but I believe that that's generally the way it should be done, and that's the way we do it. If we were to remove the adjusted net assets of $472,000, if you look at my exhibit number 2, you'll see that I've taken that out. If you take that out, then that changes the weighting that would be done, or the averaging, which again is what they actually did, and the average would be $3 million. If you look at the discounted cash flow, that number before you do any weighting is $3,750,000. So the question becomes, again, why would you come up with a total value that's lower than one or both of the different methodologies that are out there? The discounted cash flow and or the guideline public company method. Again, I believe this is bias because we're making it look really nice, making it look like we know what we're talking about, but the bias is that we are lowering the value by having this, quote, complex math calculation in the approach that we're trying to do. If you remove the adjusted net asset methodology, that would increase the value of the company by $864,240. That's close to $1 million. So when you're looking at an expert report, if you see where they have a significantly lower number and they're applying some sort of a weighting scheme or averaging scheme to this, you need to look at the analysis to see what they're doing. Now, if we were to adjust the weighting on this, and I'm keeping the numbers the same, if we adjust the weighting on this, and if you will take a look at exhibit number 3, this is just a real simple methodology for doing this. What I've done is said, well, look, we got a value, and the values for the guideline company approach is approximately 37% of the total that you come up with. If you take the discounted cash flow, it's approximately 62% of that. If you apply these weightings to the guideline company approach and the discounted cash flow approach, you get you get a value of $3,187,000. That is higher than a guideline company methodology, but it's still lower than the discounted cash flow. This actually increases the value from the original Exhibit 1 by $1,051,740. So you can see as we start getting these numbers to be where they're more reasonable, more representative of what's happening, we're getting closer to what in my opinion, a true value would be. So now the question becomes, in my mind, is if we're looking for cash flow, what can I put in my pocket? I can't go out and take a look at earnings from a publicly traded company and say that based upon this multiple, the value is X, and then how much of that value can I put in my pocket? Besides none. If you look at the discounted cash flow, this is the cash you could put in your pocket. So if that is $3,700,000, then why would you pick a value of $3,100,000? So this report, this section of the report, looks really nice. Looks like they've done a lot of contemplating on how they come up with the numbers, but in my opinion, it's biased, and it's attempting to create a lower value, which in fact they have done. So I think the attorneys need to be aware of what's happening, because I think there's a smoke screen here, and they don't want the attorneys to know what's going on with this. So this is today's presentation. If you have any questions on any specific topic, or if you have a question on this topic, feel free to send me an email or give me a call. If you have any new topics that I have not talked about yet, you would like to know about those, send me an email, and I'll be more than glad to answer your questions, and we'll talk about those topics in the future. And I've been valuing companies since 1985, and I have all of the valuation designations for valuing closely held companies here in the United States. And I welcome your comments and any feedback that you might have on this topic, or any other topics if you read those. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.